The interesting thing about English phonetics is that it is universal across all cultural types.
Pardon me, sir, but I don't think that's quite right. You know, across cultures, particularly evident in London during the Edwardian era, the early history of linguistics is associated with a need to disambiguate discourse, especially for ritual text or an argument. This often led to explorations of sound meaning, mappings, and the debate over controversial versus naturalistic origins for these symbols. You know, finally, this led to the process by which larger structures are formally formed with units, and, you know, in the early 20th century, am I right? Like, de Saussure distinguished between the difference of notions of language and parole in his formulation of structural linguistics. You know, according to him, parole is the specific utterance of speech, whereas language refers to an abstract phenomenon that theoretically defines the principles and systems of rules that govern a language, right? Yeah, so, not consistent. This distinction resembles one made by Noam Chomsky between competence and performance, where competence is an individual's ideal knowledge of a language, while performance is the specific way in which it's used, right? So, like, imagine early 20th century London, where the social classes were as divided as like the Red Sea. You know, the beggars crawled the street as noble characters of London roamed the royal towns without a scuff on their boots. Phonetics like served as a distinction between beggars and the higher class in 20th century London. But like, does this simultaneously serve as a limitation to social status? Alrighty then. I'll take these, thank you very much. Oh, yeah, and I'll take that, please. Oh, very well, very well. In Pygmalion, by George Bernard Shaw, Colonel Pickering's humanistic actions contrast Henry Higgins's stubborn brutality. Both men disregard established classist notions in their attitude towards others. Pickering treats a flower girl as if she were a duchess, whereas Higgins treats a duchess as if she were a mere flower girl. Exemplifying that morality and value are in fact far removed from class. Pickering's morality establishes the distinction between principles and social status, a sharp lampoon of the early 20th century British class system.
Hey lady! Wanna buy a flower off a poor girl? No! Oh, heavens! Oh, dearie! Oh, no! Oh, my! Oh! My dearie! Oh! I swear, you know, Henry no gentleman, he ain't to mess with a poor girl. Oh no, oh my, oh! Oh no! Can't believe this. Oh.
Dearest husband, there is a very peculiar girl that has come into our son's life. No, don't get your hopes up. This is no woman fit for marriage. To a pauper, let alone Henry, he feels the very indifference towards her as he does any other woman. I must say, they met in the strangest manner. It was pouring in London. just as it is today, and everyone took shelter, including our son, his new and charming friend Pickering, in this filthy, dingy, mutely common girl who Henry could hardly resist from plucking out of the gutter to toy with.
How do you do it, if I may ask?
Simply phonetics, the science of speech. That's my profession, and my hobby. Happy is a man who can make a living by his hobby. You can spot an Irishman or a Yorkshire man by his brogue. I can place any man within 6 miles. I can place him within 2 miles in London, sometimes within 2 streets.
Ought to be ashamed of yourself, unmanly coward!
But is there a living in that?
Oh yes, quite a fat one. This is the age of upstarts. Men begin in Kentish Town with £80 a year and end in Park Lane with 100,000. They want to drop Kentish Town, but they give themselves away every time they open up their mouths. Now I can teach them.
Let him mind his own business and leave a poor girl!
Woman, cease this detestable boohooing instantly or I'll seek shelter in another place of worship.
I have a right to be here if I like, same as you!
A woman who utters such suppressing and disgusting sounds has no right to be anywhere, no right to live. Remember that you are a human being with a soul and a divine gift of articulate speech, that your native language has a million Shakespeare and Milton and the Bible, and don't sit there crooning the bilious pigeon.
Ow!
Heavens, what a sound! Ow, ooh, ow, ooh, ow, ooh.
Garn!
You see this creature with the curbstone English, the English that will keep her in the gutter to the end of her days. Well, sir, I tell you, in 3 months, I could pass this girl off as a duchess at an ambassador's garden party. I could even put her in a place as a lady's maid or a shop assistant, which requires better English. That's the sort of thing I do for commercial millionaires. And, on the profits, I do it for genuine scientific work in phonetics, and as little as a poet as a Miltonic line.
I am myself a student of Indian dialects, and
Are you, or do you know, Colonel Pickering?
I am Colonel Pickering, but who are you?
Henry Higgins, the author of Higgins' Universal Alphabet.
Why, I came from India to meet you.
I was going to India to meet you.
Where do you live?
27A Wimpole Street. Come and see me tomorrow.
Oh, I'm at the Carlton. Come with me now and let's have a jaw over supper.
Right you are.
Buy a flower, kind gentleman. I'm short for my lodging.
I really haven't any change. I'm so sorry.
How do you do? Is Mrs. Higgins home?
I can fetch her. What's your request?
I just have a small favor to ask her. How do you do? I beg your pardon, but I could simply just not take one more minute of that Henry Higgins. I'm deeply sorry for any disturbance I may have caused you, but I'm in need of a place to stay, and Lyson Grove is no place for a lady.
Oh my, quite the lady you have become. But I hope you have more to show of manners than my son Henry may have taught you. Come in, girl, come in. Did I mention how absolutely charming he was? He treated this filthy girl like a lady. Well, of course our Henry wanted one thing, her dialect, and he wasn't even very kind about getting it. They thought he was a plainclothes copper. Our Henry a cop? Oh, please. He even told this girl, a woman who utters such depressing and disgusting sounds has no right to be anywhere, no right to live. His manners, we need to work on them. Pickering is good for him, though. His morals are unchanging regardless of the class. His manners for these street urchins are perfect. I do not wish to entertain my new guest. She's not in my class, and I can't present her at my at-home days. Higgins may have trained her to speak properly, but I'm sure she still lacks manners. I hope she's eaten from the hand of Pickering, too.
What's all this then? The Colonel's interactions with Eliza exist in sharp contrast to Henry's. In their first meeting, both Henry and the Colonel destroy the class system through their actions. Whilst Henry is equally low to everyone, the Colonel treats everyone with simple human respect. Henry's attempting to change Eliza to a duchess implicitly shows that speech alone is the distinction between a flower girl and a duchess. Is the distinction between the classes really so artificial? That a few proper words and haughty air could change the lower class into the upper? Yet some simple human decency can change a weak, sniveling fool into a self-confident woman ready to face the world. Such a fact proves that we are all equal in the eyes of God, and the distinction between the classes is as thin as an accent.
Oh, pish-posh, go tend to the flowers.
Here, Liza, have some chocolates.
How do I know it might be in them? I've heard of girls being drugged by the like of you.
Pledge a good face, Eliza. I eat one half, you eat the other. You shall have boxes of them, barrels of them every day. You can live off them, eh?
I normally wouldn't eat this, but I'm too ladylike to take it out of my mouth.
Listen, Eliza, I think you said you came here in a taxi.
Well, what if I did? I have as good a right as anyone else to take a taxi.
You have, Eliza, and in future you shall have many taxis as you want. You shall go up and down the town and around in a taxi cab every single day. Think of it, Eliza.
Mr. Higgins, you're tempting the girl. It's not right. She should think of her future.
At her age, nonsense. Time enough to think about the future when you have no future to think of. No, Eliza, do as this lady does. Think of other people's futures, but never think 20 of your own. Think of chocolates, taxis, gold, and diamonds.
No, I don't want no gold or no diamonds. I'm a good girl. I am.
And you shall remain so, Eliza, under the care of Miss Pierce. You shall marry an officer of the guards with a beautiful mustache, the son of Marquis who would disinherit him from marrying you, but will relent you when he sees your beauty and your goodness.
Excuse me, Higgins, but I really must interfere. Mrs. Pierce is quite right. If this girl is to put herself in your hands for 6 months for an experiment in teaching, she must understand thoroughly what she is doing.
How can she? She's incapable of understanding anything. Besides, do any of us understand what we're really doing? If we did, would we ever do it?
Very clever, Higgins, but not sound sense. Miss Doolittle,
Ow!
There, that's all you get out of Eliza. Ow. No use of explaining. As a military man, you ought to know that. Give her orders, that's what she wants. Eliza, you are to live here for the next 6 months, learning how to speak beautifully, like a lady, and in a florist shop. If you're good and do whatever you're told, you shall sleep in a proper bedroom, have lots to eat, and money to buy chocolates and take rides in taxis. If you're naughty and idle, you will sleep in the back kitchen among the black petals and be walloped by Mrs. Pierce with a broomstick. At the end of 6 months, you shall go to Buckingham Palace in a carriage, beautifully dressed. If the king finds out you're not a lady, you'll be taken by the police to the Tower of London, where your head will be cut off as a warning to other presumptuous flower girls. If you are not found out, you shall have a present of 7 and 6 pence to start a life without his flower shop. If you refuse this offer, you'll be given the most ungrateful and wicked girl till the angels will weep for you. Now are you satisfied, Pickering? Can I put it more plainly and fairly, Miss Pierce?
I think you better let me speak to the girl properly in private. I don't know that I can take charge of her or consent to the arrangement at all. Of course, I know you don't mean her any harm, but when you get what you call interested in people's accents, you never think or care what may happen to them or you. Come with me, Eliza.
That's all right. Thank you, Miss Pierce. Now, bundle her off and off to the bathroom.
You're a great bully, you are. I won't stay here if I don't like. I won't let nobody wallop me. I never asked to go to Buckingham Palace. I didn't. I was never in trouble with the police. I'm a good girl. I am.
Don't answer back, girl. You don't understand the gentleman. Come with me.
Well, what I say is right. I won't go near the king, not if I'm going to have my head cut off. If I'd known what I was letting myself in for, I wouldn't have come here. I always have been a good girl, and I never offered to say a word to him, and I don't owe him nothing, and I don't care, and I won't be put upon, and I won't have my feelings the same as anyone else.
Excuse the straight question, Higgins, but are you a man of good character where women are concerned?
Have you ever met a man of great character when women are concerned?
Yes. very frequently.
Well, I haven't. I find the moment that a woman makes friends with me, she becomes jealous, exacting, suspicious, and a damned nuisance. I find the moment I let myself make friends with a woman, I become selfish and tyrannical. Women upset everything. When you let them into your life, they find that one thing woman is driving at one thing, and then you're driving at another.
My first instinct was to blame this girl, this thing. And you know, our son sometimes, this is how he treats people, just as objects, not people. But as his linguistic friend Pickering has come into my life more often, I begin to realize, did we raise our son wrong? Henry's manners are repulsive. I don't know who was worse during my stay at home a few months ago, Henry or Eliza. As she cowers at our house, I'm realizing the lady she has become and the monster that she has identified in our son. I'm so thankful for Pickering. Without him, I don't know if she would be properly cared for. It's very evident she favors the gentleman over our own kin.
But really, thanks for having me, Mrs. Higgins. I apologize for showing up unannounced, but I just didn't know where to go.
Apologize not.
Mrs. Higgins, do you have a moment to talk about your son?
I assumed it was about him. I mean, he really is a gentleman, but he is married to his work. You ever wonder why he doesn't have a wife?
Do you think he cares about me? I'm a common girl with the tongue of a lady.
When it comes to Henry, he is sophisticated and noble to the eyes of London. But simply being of the higher class doesn't guarantee high morals. Haven't you heard the saying? Things are not as they appear. Darling, Henry is my son, so I consider him a good man. But I must admit that sometimes his head is not where his glass is.
He says he cares about humanity, but I'm a human and he uses me to remember his appointments and to fetch his bloody slippers.
Oh, dear, watch your language!
I apologize. He said when he was convincing me to do this project, you see this creature with her curbstone English, the English that will keep her in the gutter to the end of her days. A creature? By the end of the classes, I was not even that to him. Sometimes I wish he left me in that gutter. It may have been hard for me to rise up without changing my accent, but at least I would have been happy as I begged on the street with my flower basket. I would have been here sooner if it wasn't for Pickering. That dear man, that wonderful and caring gentleman. I don't need to question the way he feels about me, as he loves humanity and I'm just a part of it. He muffled all of our fights as he sees reason in places where Higgins is blind in. But it was late after we came back from the party where they passed me off as a duchess and Pickering went to bed. Higgins didn't even congratulate me. He asked me to fetch his slippers again. An argument got started. I'm in this higher social class now and he just wanted to marry me off. I'm more than just something to put a ring on, or at least I was back in that gutter.
What is that noise? Oh, Henry, you look absolutely detestable. You really should keep your shoes shine and your coat pressed. By God, you mustn't stand like an ape. And oh, Colonel Pygmalion, it's always a pleasure.
Mother, where is Liza? Is she here?
Yes, Miss Doolittle hasn't been home all night. She stormed out while we were sleeping.
Calm down, gentlemen. What you're looking for is in the parlor.
Oh, Eliza, we really have been so worried. I wish you had...
Will you drop me altogether now that the experiment is over, Colonel Pickering?
Oh, don't. You mustn't think of it as an experiment. It shocks me somehow.
Oh, I'm only a squashed cabbage leaf.
Oh, no.
But I owe so much to you that I should be very unhappy if you forgot me.
It's very kind of you to say so, Miss Doolittle.
It's not because of you paying for my dresses. I know you are generous to everybody with money, but it was from you that I learned really nice manners. And that is what makes one a lady, isn't it? You see, it was so very difficult for me with the example of Professor Higgins, always before me. I was brought up to be just like him, unable to control myself, and using bad language on the slightest provocation. And I should never have known that ladies and gentlemen didn't behave like that, if you hadn't been there.
Oh, thank you.
Well!
Oh, that's only his way, you know. He doesn't mean it.
I didn't mean it either when I was a flower girl. It was my only way. But you see, I did it, and that's what makes the difference after all.
No doubt. Still, he taught you to speak. And I couldn't have done that, you know.
Of course, that is his profession.
Damnation!
It was just like learning to dance in the fashionable way. There was nothing more than that in it. But do you know what began my real education?
What?
You're calling me Miss Doolittle since the day when I first met you on Wimpole Street. That was the beginning of self-respect for me. And there were 100 little things you never noticed because they came naturally to you. Things about standing up and taking off your hat and opening doors.
That was nothing.
Yes, things that showed you thought and felt about me as if I were something better than a scullery maid. Though of course I know you would have been just the same to a scullery maid if she had been let in the drawing room. You never took off your boots in the dining room when I was there.
You mustn't mind that. Higgins takes off his boots all over the place.
I know, I am not blaming him. It is his way, isn't it? But it made such a difference to me that you didn't do it. You see, really and truly, apart from the things anyone can pick up, the dressing and the proper way of speaking and so on, the difference between a lady and a flower girl is not how she behaves, but how she's treated. I shall always be a flower girl to Professor Higgins because he always treats me as a flower girl, and always will. But I know I can be a lady to you, because you always treat me as a lady, and you always will.
Please don't grind your teeth, Henry.
Well, this really is very nice of you, Miss Doolittle.
I should like you to call me Eliza now, if you would.
Thank you, Eliza. Of course.
And I should like Professor Higgins to call me Miss Doolittle.
I shall see you damned first.
Henry!
Why don't you slang back at him? Don't stand it. I would do him a lot of good.
I can't. I could have done it once, but now I can't go back to it. Last night when I was wandering about, a girl spoke to me, and I tried to get back into the old way with her, but it was no use. You told me, you know, that when a child is brought to a foreign country, it picks up the language in a few weeks and forgets its own. Well, I am a child in your country. I have forgotten my own language, and you can speak nothing but yours. That's the real break-off at the corner of Tottenham Court Road. Leaving Wimpole Street finishes it.
Oh, but you're coming back to Wimpole Street, aren't you? You'll forgive Higgins.
Forgive? Will she? By George, let her go. Let her find out what she can get on without us. She will relapse into the gutter in 3 weeks without me at her elbow.
It's incorrigible. Eliza, you won't relapse, will you?
No, not now, not ever again. I've learned my lesson. I don't believe I could utter one of those old sounds if I tried. Daddy! Oh!
Aha! Just so! Ow! Ow! Victory!
Can you blame the girl? Don't look at me like that, Eliza. It ain't my fault. I've come into money.
You must have touched a millionaire this time, Dad.
I have, but I'm dressed something special today. I'm going to St. George's, Hanover Square. Your stepmother's going to marry me.
You're going to let yourself down to marry that low, common woman?
Low, common woman. Low, common woman. Low, common woman? You ungrateful, bloody little witch! Do not remember where you came from. You wouldn't be anything of your current image if it weren't for Higgins and Pickering. I hope, if anything, you've learned from the Colonel that we should treat each person as if it were worthy of our greatest kindnesses. If Higgins has taught you to believe that you are any better than those who live in your background, morality is not defined by class, and your voice and your new figure do not make you any less of the woman you were. I thought it was important to teach you the values of speech and respecting your voice. A fatal flaw on my part, but Higgins and Pickering have taught you so much more than I ever could, but you ignorant girl. You've missed so much of the lesson. Do you not see the foil before you? Pickering has been the greatest models for you. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have left you to these puppeteers. Do not forget your past, Eliza. Do not forget your virtues. This bloody system makes it easy to forget what matters. Life, love, family. Remember where you came from, Eliza.